Tonight's coverage of the NLRL Sunday League is brought to you by Malwa Transport, oversized cargo and trucking logistics specialists of Quebec. Visit their website on www.malwa-transport.ca. Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to Round 5 of the NLRL Sunday League Season 4. You join us here at the site of the largest FIA Grade 1 track ever constructed, here in the hills over the village of Francorchamps, near the city of Stavelot in Wallonia, Belgium, at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. As always, I am Regan Clark for your evening here. Opened in 1921 as a partial street circuit, it would take nearly 60 years before Spa's layout would be modified into the one we know today, with the Grand Prix layout used in the modern day first emerging in 1979. It wouldn't be until 2003 that the circuit would be a completely closed permanent installation, when public traffic was shut off from accessing the roads on the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Home of the Belgian Grand Prix and the Spa 24-hour, both of which have ran for over a century. Spa is a cornerstone of European racing history, considered part of the Holy Trinity for European endurance venues, alongside the Circuit de la Sarthe in Le Mans, France, and the Nordschleife in Nürburgring, Germany. It is a staggering 4.3 miles or 7.004 kilometers and 20 turns of FIA Grade 1 tarmac. That's twice as long as the Circuit de Monaco, or a little under 1.5 times the size of the Nürburgring GP circuit. Heading into the halfway mark then of the championship, things are looking very, very exciting, especially trailing on the round of Van Velzen's third Sunday League victory back in Monza last weekend. Seeing how this impacts the championship at large, we stay on board here with Melvin Milliston, who starts his flying laps here in free practice, and he continues to lead that charge by 40 points. Van Velzen now overtaking Labay to second place in the championship. Christian Labay maintains third position then for the time being. He finds himself, looking at it here, 12 points up the road from George Todd in fourth place. Ben Cheeseman in fifth, ahead of James Mason by a factor of 3 points apiece there, front to back between those two. William Bajor now supersedes the overall championship lead from Sam Angel to 7th place with 60 points. Angel in 8th with 52. Scott Milbank in 9th place with 49 points. And then Tyler Vermack down to 10th, and we'll see exactly why that is the reason in a moment's time. But before we do, let's continue our conversation of the championship standings, getting us into the Rookies Championship. Now we only take a look at the top 10. You can find the rest of the results via SimGrid. But as you can see right now, despite losing it in the overall championship stead, Sam Angel continues in division to lead by a country mile here, a little under 30 points between himself and William Bajor. Now up to second, Stefan Nikolai in third, with Josh Wellbeloved in fourth. We'll see about how much longer that's set to keep up, as rumours are aplenty that he's moved to BMW. That could halve his points from 66 to 33. We'll see exactly how that progresses into the second half of the season. Carl Martel in fifth place, only off by 4 points at this time with Ford, and he'll be set to move up a position if our rumours are correct. Corey Aiken in sixth place, ahead of a joint seventh between Nye Roberts and Daniel Richards in a joint seventh, 57 points apiece there between the BMW and the Bentley. Then rounding out the top 10 in ninth place, Fran Sanchez with Ferrari and Holkianos in 54 points of stead there, ahead of Matthias Gonalons by 2 points, who rounds out the top 10. Speaking of Holkianos, let's look at the team's championship, where Holkianos have now dropped to 7th place. But looking up front, we can see that despite a joint first in round 4, heading into round 4, I should say, Velocity now supersede 5-Star Esports by a factor of, looking at it here, 28 points. Actually, no, my mistake there. That's 13 points. Oh boy, we are really rough for the maths today. 13 points in difference between the pair, with Malwa Racing 7 points off of 5-Star Esports in third place. Euro Titans, after since fully confirming Cas Van Velzen as part of their lineup, have now inherited part of his points and now move up to 4th in the team's championship. Exclusive Esports are now down to the back of the top 5, and that's because of the points reduction from Tyler Vermack swapping vehicles. We'll see exactly to where in a moment's time. VEC Esports in 6th place, then ahead of Holkianos in 7th, with Nexus GT rounding out the team's championships. Into the regulations just before we cut back to the main feed, and we'll find for round 5 today, we're back on the standard format. Right now we're in the middle of 10 minutes of free practice before we're on the 20 minutes of qualifying and an hour of racing, with 1 mandatory pit stop and a minimum 25-second fuel stop on the way here in Spa. And it's going to be a very exciting race because, so we've been told as well on the weather radars, changeable conditions on the way. Now you can see it's nice and dry and sunny here in Stavelot. But taking a look a few hours before we went live today, this was footage earlier on from the pit lane, and you can see it was absolutely hammering it down, and it still possesses the chance to do so today. Looking at the calendar for where we find ourselves right now at the season halfway, we've now still got 5 more races to follow. If you consider the extra double sprint races there, 6th and 9th in the rounds, Nürburgring and Laguna Seca, that does bring the margin up to about 7 races before the end of the championship here in the Sunday League. And right now it's already been a super exciting opening half, and with plenty more action to follow and quite a bit of news today. And to address the elephant in the room, let's go and find what is undoubtedly Sunday League royalty back on the field. We take a look around the field. Let's see if we can find him. Hopefully he is here today. Really am hoping for this one. Looking around the field, you can see that George Todd, and this is among several changes we'll discuss today, has now been signed by 5 Star, sports their colours for this round. But there you have it. Your eyes do not deceive you. That is the Season 2 champion, Jason Bush, what was once quoted as the Rocket Man of Sunday League, is back on the grid for round 5 of Season 4. After a season's hiatus, a no-show throughout Season 3, he's back on the grid. We'll see what the American can do in round 5 of the championship behind the wheel of the 33 Lexus. Of course, looking back through the history of the Sunday League, he was Season 2's champion, and he was in the competition stead alongside Christian Lebay and Diman Ivanov. A 3-way split for Season 2's championship ultimately swung in his favour with absolute technical superiority in that Lexus RCF. And for the first time then in the history of the Sunday League, well, at least in Season 4, we have all 3 champions on the same grid, with Milliston out on track as well, Lebay also on the track at the same time, and now with Bush completes the trifecta, and this is going to be a glorious round to follow on from. Getting into the discussions before the arrival of qualifying today, on to balance of performance, we stay on board here with Jason Bush, who he, like many Lexuses on this grid, will be seeing great benefit today. 16 kilos shared from the RCF for round 5. Looking further behind them, you see that Bentley lose 18 kilos, so fantastic news for Archie Bowen and Daniel Richards, 2 users of the Bentley Continental, and also great news for Aston Martin. They've not gone anywhere in terms of weight reduction, another 40 kilos off for Christian Lebay in the 119 V12 Vantage. Looking further around them, minus 9 kilos for the Mercedes AMG GT3. Porsche gain a single kilo, so negligible differences for this round of the championship. BMW gained 3 kilos, Ferrari gained 4, McLaren gained 6, Ford on the short end of the stick once more, who gained 20 kilos coming in to round 5. We say here with Jason Bush just gets around Thiago Moreira on his way through Blanchimont, and just before the end of free practice, who better than to stay on board with than that of the number 33. After a long hiatus away from the sport, we're on board with Jason Bush, hopefully for one more lap here around the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps before the arrival of qualifying today. Who better to get the tour from than the 33? The Season 2 champion rolls alongside George Todd as both of them make their way to the timing lines. Down towards La Source then at turn 1, as we are on the advent of the most iconic section of FIA Grade 1 known to motor racing. Heading out of La Source, he does pull it in though to one side, so I don't know, will we be getting a full run out of Jason Bush? I sure do hope so. Making his way back onto the track after letting George Todd roll on by, also lets Thiago Moreira roll on by. But here you can see the run up through Eau Rouge and Radion. Turns 3, 4 and 5. The uphill perilous ascent we'll be seeing throughout today's hour of racing in what could be dry or could be wet conditions. It is still an absolute coin toss at this time, as even race control aren't certain over what conditions our drivers are set to face today. We're only a few more seconds left to go in free practice. We may have to wait until the end until the start of qualifying before we can get a full track tour, but we stay on here with Jason Bush. He makes his way out of the Kemmel Straight in through Lacombe and Melmedy, turns 7, 8 and 9. Making his way down towards turn 10, a corner by the name of Bruxelles, sometimes also called Rivage, but running out wide. I think that could be the end of the line here for Jason Bush, so sadly we will be forced to wait. So you see here Stefan Nicolai just racing his way to the line before the start of qualifying today. 20 minutes of qualifying to follow, as mentioned on the brief there for the event regs. Down towards the line goes Nicolai. And a note there from 5-star Jupiter, as we just saw across the line, Stefan Nicolai to 3rd fastest. Ben Cheeseman with 5-star currently 4th fastest. Across the line goes Carl Jenkins to 18th fastest before the advent of qualifying today. It's a shame that we've seen a change in livery right at the last second. We were seeing a heritage livery that was then a great reference to the Red Sow the old Mercedes 300 SCL 6.8. Sadly, he's now replaced it for the BWT, bright bubblegum pink, as it were, on that 420 AMG. That's Cas van Velzen to the line from 5th to 3rd at the end of free practice. A great sign here for the 420. He's now 2nd in the championship after his 3rd victory in the Sunday League last weekend at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. So just briefly, a note from one of the race control members, that's 5-Star Jupiter, saying if you look towards the back of LeBay, Milliston and Bush's cars, you'll see the gold sticker on the back of their cars, which would indicate that they are championship holders. But that's going to be very tough to see here because these 3 drivers don't like to keep cars in close vicinity, so we'll have to try and keep our eyes peeled. We see here, this is Thiago Moreira on the exit of La Source. Finished this session 21st. We were waiting to the line here for 2 more cars, the 114 and the 115. So that's Kyle Jenkins and Ben Cheeseman, if memory serves correct. We'll see if we can catch here the 114. This is Ben Cheeseman on his way to the line, currently 5th in session, right at the very end of free practice. The 113 we're also awaiting to the line, but we'll see. He has already finished in 19th, so to the line goes Ben Cheeseman, stays 5th at the end of this session. So not long now from the advent of qualifying, 20 minutes against the clock, and we'll see a very scattered data set, and that's for the reason that we've had such sporadic changes in weather over the last couple of hours to where drivers have been forced to set times on the chart during the pouring rain, or as we can see today, in much more drier and more favourable conditions. This is Joaquin Quadro making his way down through Blanchimont, but he'll have to wait for another run around. 20 minutes against the clock then for qualifying today. We see from several drivers' point of views already some drivers scrambling for the exit of the pit lane, usurped for the lead there by the early bird. The 413 of James Mason is out first, up ahead of Melvin Milliston. And it's looking to be a tough day here. The data is almost purposefully inaccurate because of those weather changes. And looking at the qualifying predictions, it pitches George Todd at the front of the pack, a 2:18.010 ahead of Jason Bush in 2nd place, Tyler Vermack in 3rd, Nye Roberts 4th, Dan Poulin in 5th, with Christian LeBay in 6th, Taylor Walford in 7th place, Stefan Nicolai 8th, Ben Cheeseman 9th, and Melvin Milliston in 10th, from one of the largest gaps we've ever seen front to back, a factor of 11 seconds. Taking a look there, you only really ever get those gaps at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and we're seeing it today in a track just a little under a quarter its size. It's going to be an exciting session to follow and what looks like more favourable conditions than the drivers have been battling against in the run-up to today's event. We're in much drier stead here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Now, that could still since change. We are projected for changeable conditions, so there is still the great risk of rain today. We'll see if we can catch on board, though, with the 413, who'll be leading the charge then around the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, unless he gives over to the number 1, the defending Season 3 champion of Melvin Milliston. So to discuss some of those changes just before we get to the start of qualifying proper, let's actually get onto the main screen here so that we can more accurately jump around the grid and see some news as it rolls in. So, of course, we did briefly see the number 12 not long ago in this session, that being George Todd, now sporting the black and gold of the 5-Star Esports team, and he was signed after round 4 in Monza after an exemplary performance in the number 12 car. He does find himself in that top 5 in the championship now. He is in a fighting stead here for Season 4. We also see a big move around for 2 drivers, both of them moving to Porsche, one of which, if we find here, Alan Alexander of Euro Titans. We saw a little bit of him last round with Ferrari. He now since moves to Porsche. Another big move has come from that of the number 25, and that's if we can find him today, because so I am led to believe Tyler Vermack, there he is, down in 25th, has also swapped to Porsche, hence why he has now dropped to the back of the top 10. He's halved his points, and he told us this was in preparations for a big run into Season 5, and there is a lot to expect coming up in the next season, but we're only halfway into Season 4. There is still a lot left to fight for. There is still a race to be won. Speaking of race wins, taking a look in the last couple of rounds then, we saw Cas van Velzen's 3rd Sunday League victory last round in Monza. Looking before that, it was a hat-trick of victories across the double sprint rounds in round 2 and the single race in round 3 from Valencia and Imola for Melvin Milliston. Tyler Vermack then has been on a race drought for the longest time here in the pro category. In the rookies division, I am delighted to announce that the round 1 division winner, Zolt Beefgarner, is back on the grid in the 599 for round 5 of the championship. So let's catch back on board for the time being with the man leading this session right now. That was the 413 of James Mason. out up the road from him appears to be Cas van Veltzen. We're not sure 100% if he has gotten past Mason on track, or whether or not he's yet to do a flying lap himself. We can assume the latter based off of the positions right now. But heading down through to Campus and Stavolo, down through turns 13, 14, and 15, making their way to the line here. This is James Mason. We will, fingers crossed, try to get that full tour of the track. It would be naive not to. We do see, though, very early doors here, appears to be yellow flags, and sadly it doesn't show up over our timing charts, but yellow flags were out briefly for the number 12 of George Todd. Trouble down at Rivage, turn 10. We stay here, though, with James Mason. He makes his way around Blanchimont here. Two flat-out left-handers. Those who dares wins here. And it is really a case of trying to keep in the clear and narrow on those track limit lines. We see trouble for the 33 there, Jason Bush, and the 32. So even more bizarre trouble right early doors in this qualifying session today. But down to the line comes James Mason to be the first time on the charts today, just about 4.5 minutes in. And he sets the first time. Here comes Melvin Milliston right behind him and up to the leading position. Stefan Nicolai in third, then William Bajor from behind them. So it seems to the line, but he has one more lap still to serve before he can put a time on the chart. Scott Milbank in fourth fastest, then to the line the 387. That's Willow Taylor. On their way to the line, they're going to be starting another flying lap before we see one on the charts. Their same story for the 616 behind them. That's Andrew Veldkamp. What is not the case, though, is for Nye Roberts. He's fifth fastest at the end of that last lap just gone. The number 14 next to the line on what appears to be an invalid lap. We'll see if that is the truth. No, it isn't. For Ben Hart, he is sixth, and that is on the charts. That is all legitimate for him there. He does find himself, though, rather precariously 2 seconds away from the fastest time so far. He'll be looking to bump those numbers up before the end of today's session. The 315 starts another flying lap. That's Alan Alexander. The 119 behind him makes Christian LeBay. And we do have some important announcements about him later on today. Do thoroughly look forward to discussing that in our news segment before the start of round 5. And Cheeseman, fourth fastest. Sam Angel, fifth fastest. Zolt Beefgartner, sixth fastest. So Lexus, thick and fast into the top 10. But we still yet to see the 33 of Jason Bush. He had trouble with another driver down in Campus, down at turn 13. The 25 across the line a moment ago. That was Tyler Vermaak to second fastest, still budding with his championship rival Melvin Milliston. And now he's down in 10th with Milliston leading the charge. This is all in preparation to give him a running start for Season 5 of the Sunday League back running in 2026. Making his way up through the order then. And we've seen quite a few drivers try their hand over at Porsche throughout the last couple of seasons. I think one notably that springs to mind was back in Season 3, the run by Cas van Veltzen before he joined Mercedes. He did compete with Porsche, had an exemplary round last season in Monza, was able to leverage a lot of the good qualities of the 992 platform to his aid throughout that race. And now we see that both Vermaak and Alan Alexander of Euro Titans, currently down in 14th, yet to have put a time on the charts, have both moved to the 992. There is this sort of mass migration over towards the Porsche as it becomes more and more of a viable option. The 413 next to the line. Here comes James Mason. Cas van Veltzen was in front of him and goes up the road from Mason by just a few hundredths of a second. A massive extension by Melvin Milliston to put himself 3/4 of a second north of any one driver on track. Right now, the gap opening up massively between himself and the 25 of Tyler Vermaak. The 387 next to the line, Willow Taylor with BMW. Across the line, they go from 18th to 12th. And behind them comes Nye Roberts. We already saw a great start to the session. Can he make his way back up into the top 10 as he crosses the line? Sadly, not the case this time around. The 616 of Andrew Veldkamp. So it seems they're yet to put a time on the charts. The 333 also put a time on the charts there. William Bajor of VEC Esports, who is now back-to-back for podiums in this championship throughout both Italian rounds, was a third place customer, as it were, for VEC Esports, and he competes from the Rookie Championship, and that gap is narrowing up quickly between himself and leading car Sam Angel in division in the 719. Who most recently just usurped the time by 0.2 of a second. 74 across the line a moment ago as well. The Sergio Belda of Holkianos Motorsport, now 16th fastest. Heading to the line, we can see the 25 accompanied by another Holkianos car. I believe that to be Fran Sanchez, and that seemingly compromised Tyler Vermaak's continued efforts to charge for pole position. He retires to the pit lane just before the halfway mark of qualifying. We'll be seeing him out a little later on. 36 across the line a moment ago, and that was Alex Albert with Lexus and Malwar Racing. Branko Lagovic just across the line a moment ago, his second race in the Sunday League after making his debut back in Monza. Lagovic now 19th in session in the 991. 5.99 across the line a moment ago, and that was Zolt Beefgartner, still in the top 10, but clinging to the margins there, unlike Sam Angel, who's in and amongst the top 5 after his last lap just gone. A massive improvement for the 719. Puts himself up the road from his fellow rookie, William Bajor of VEC Esports. It's looking to be a very, very close fight here amongst our top 10. Right now, you've got just around 5 cars separated by a second from the fastest time. You can see they are much closer to each other in that top 5 as now. So it seems Sam Angel drops down to 6th. As we saw for a moment there, James Mason went up to 5th. We are seeing a little bit of a bizarre case here. George Todd up to 6th. Tyler Vermack maintains 5th place. William Bajor up to 4th. James Mason to 2nd after his last lap just gone. So he was in the top 5 for but a string there, and now he finds himself on the front row. This is one of the most remarkable performances we've seen from Sunday League's early bird. He has been a loyal customer to the Sunday League. He's been competing as far back as Season 1, a real veteran of the sport. And now, in that 413 BMW, is seeing the front row at the halfway mark of qualifying today. He's ahead of such series legends as Jason Bush, Tyler Vermack, and looking further down the order, a less than ideal performance at this time, but we'll see if it improves beyond 16th place for Christian LeBay. Across the line, he goes to 14th. And I think perhaps we're seeing the requiem now on something that we're going to discuss in a little while's time. There are big news coming up from Malwar Racing. Not only was it the signing of the 33 of Jason Bush, there is also great news coming forth for that 119. We'll discuss that in around 10 minutes time though. Ben Cheeseman across the line a moment ago is up to 7th, and as you can see it there, only a few hundredths off of George Todd in 6th place. I wanted to discuss this gap because as you can see from just 3 cars there, Bush, Bajor and Vermack find themselves front to back there, 85 thousandths of a second from one another front to back. So that is astronomically thin. The human reaction time on average is about 100 to 110 thousandths of a second. So we are really in that inhuman level of time difference. 5.99 across the line a moment ago. Zolt Beefgartner in 11th behind Sam Angel. Right now, the fastest of the Lexus drivers is Jason Bush, returning after a hiatus out of Season 3. The Season 2 champion is looking absolutely fired up. You can take the... you can take Bush out of the fight, so it seems, but you cannot take the fight out of Bush. On his way down through turn 20 then at the bus stop chicane. I think we will try to stay on board with at least one driver here. We saw Bush across the line, now 3rd fastest. Mason, he was on an exemplary drive today. From behind him is Cas van Veltzen, now 9th after that last run. We'll stay on board with Mason as we continue to charge now through La Source. And he'll be our unofficial tour guide here, the circuit to Spa-Francorchamps. He's in close pursuit from behind there by the 420 of Cas van Veltzen. Currently 9th place to line up on this grid, 8.5 minutes left to go. So we made our way out of La Source, now on the run through Eau Rouge and Radion. Turns 2, 3, 4 and 5. There was that slight kink just before. 3, 4 and 5. Now through turn 6 and onto the Kemmel Straight. And you can see right now, this is going to be a prime overtaking opportunity for plenty of drivers today. This long straightaway gives us the slipstream necessary to lodge and move up the inside on the run into a heavy braking zone that comprises the start of turns 7, 8 and 9, Lacombe and Melmedy into our run into the middle sector. Out through turn 9 then on the run down towards turn 10 at Rivage, otherwise Bruxelles. In through turn 10, a very awkward corner, especially when it gets wet and wild, which it is still on the likelihood to do today. Out through the no-name corner here at turn 11. We've seen plenty of trouble for wet weather conditions for our drivers, so they're really going to be worrying about this section of the track coming into today's race if we are to see wet racing. Out through Pouon, you can see slinging the back end there of the car away from him. James Mason almost drifting through turn 12 at Pouon, an area where Formula 1 cars can take it absolutely flat out. Now to turn 13 and 14 at Campus. This snaking section here to bring us into another tight set of bends at turns 15 and 16 as we head towards Stavelot here at turn 15. Then the curb of Paul Frere at turn 16. Mason really pushing the envelope out, but as you can see, when we bring up telemetry into the question, he finds himself nearly 4 tenths down on his personal best. On the exit of turn 16, he now enters that fast 3rd sector on his way into turn 17 and 18 at Blanchemont. Out through turn 18, then we go. You can see that little kink on the inside. You touch that and the car can properly kick out on you in towards turn 19 and 20. The bus stop chicane, heavy braking zone, prime time overtaking opportunity after following all the way through that middle sector. Out through turn 20 then to the line, and where it sadly won't be an improvement for James Mason, it was still an exemplary lap so far. He finds himself that last lap, a 2:17.376. His personal best right now, and what's lodged on the timing charts, a 2:16.950. So that is properly stand up there for James Mason. He puts BMW to second place, still leading that charge, on his way to the line right now to a potential improvement. Here comes Melvin Milliston of Velocity Racing, the number 1, the defending Season 3 champ, to the line, and sadly, by the looks of it, didn't find an improvement to extend the margins. Right now, we have 3 drivers separated by front to back 3/10 of a second, with George Todd of 5 Star Esports, their latest addition to the fleet, now 3rd fastest and up the road from the Season 2 champion, Jason Bush, in 4th place. William Bajor, the rookie sensation, finds himself 37 thousandths off of the Season 2 champion, the new holder of the 333. A number used to be held by that of Bush himself before he went to the 33. The new 333, not too far off at all. He rounds out the top 5 and leads for the rookies here in qualifying. Tyler Vermack, on his first drive this season for Porsche, finds himself in 6th place right now, ahead of Ben Cheeseman and Stefan Nikolai of 5 Star Esports. 7th and 8th, Cass Van Veltzen, 9th with Mercedes, and Sam Angel with Lexus rounds out that top 10. Behind him, Alan Alexander, also on a first drive with Porsche. Like Tyler Vermack, he finds himself with less than ideal results at this time, 11th place for the 315. He's up the road from the round 1 rookie division winners, Alt Beefgartner in the 599 Lexus. He's up the road from Nye Roberts and Taylor Wolford in 13th and 14th place. Christian LeBay, after the last lap just gone, puts himself in the top 15. And Spa really seems to be the kryptonite here for the V12 Vantage, and you'd think the contrary. Now, bringing back up speed data that we gathered for round 4 back at Monza, we can see that Aston Martin and Ford Performance do have the fastest straight line speed at around 283 kilometers an hour, 175 miles an hour, albeit that's on a low aero setup, so you're really going to be in that fine balancing act for setups here at Spa. It's very easy to rush in and move to that low aero setup right off the bat to capitalize on Sector 1, to capitalize on Sector 3, but you've still got all of that middle sector to play with. Moreover, the V12 Vantage is a naturally aspirated motor, and it's an old-fashioned car. It's slow accelerating. The Ford doesn't have that problem because it has shorter gear ratios and a slightly punchier engine that emphasizes torque. The V12 goes for the long distance. This is designed for the Mall Sound Straight, let alone the Kemmel. We saw that Aston Martin did use it to great effect in the world of endurance racing, but here in Spa, it is meeting its match here at the back of the top 15. Looking back up to the top 3 as far as they're concerned right now, we see that Jason Bush has now gone 3rd fastest up the road by, looking at it here, 90 thousandths of a second between himself and George Todd, now in 4th. Right now, joint level on time for Mack and Bajor, so great improvement by Vermack. Can we see Bajor separate himself from the 25 across the line? He goes. Doesn't appear to be the case. A single thousandth hangs in the balance here on who takes home 5th place. With 3 minutes left to go in qualifying, we're entering the final rung of flying laps here in Spa before we get on to an hour of racing ahead of us here at round 5 of the championship. It's going to be an exciting one because we still, as of right now, do not know whether or not there will be rain. There is still the imminent threat of downpour here in Spa, and as we showed earlier on in the stream, looking back to a few hours before today's race, we do find ourselves with a real law of extremes. It could be nice and dry, favourable conditions here, about 24 degrees on track and 18 ambient here in Spa. We could find ourselves with thundering rain against the FIA Grade 1. Only time will tell us different. Well, nearest to the line right now on what appears to be a valid flying lap is Kyle Jenkins in 18th place, the 113 for 5 star across the line. Sadly, to no improvement, but he's got one more lap still before the end of today's session. Heading to the line, the 26 JM Keto pulls it to one side, so coming in very quickly here, Joaquim Quadro, the 32. He was caught up in a bit of an incident earlier on today with the 33 of Jason Bush. That was down at Campus at turns 13 and 14 in the opening laps of this qualifying session. The only driver yet to have set a time, Anthony Cote, the 919 BMW of Maloir Racing. Nearest to the line comes the 33. Could we be seeing an improvement from Jason Bush? Across the line he goes, and sadly doesn't appear to be the case. And as you can see, slowing down with no more time left to play for, That is Jason Bush back into the pits, divided from the front row by looks of it here by about 86 thousandths of a second, so very close. Actually, 85 thousandths, my mistake there. Very, very close indeed between Mason and Bush right at the very end. But there is still a possibility for another driver to charge towards that front row. George Todd, the likeliest among them, but let's not rule out the rest of the field. We have seen extraordinary results come from the last flying laps of qualifying. It is not impossible to say that we could be seeing that again. Right now, Melvin Milliston with dominant control of pole position. James Mason looking for a fantastic start today. Second place for the 413 of 5-Star Esports. You see here, this is their newest driver, the ace in the hole, signed after an exemplary performance in round 4, the number 12. And you'll note that I'm really liking that word today. But really, what other word does describe the drive by George Todd? He did have a great performance in the last couple of rounds. He's really put on quite a show in this championship, a much more lively performance than we've seen the fleeting rounds of last season out of him. That number 12 really making a name for himself on this grid today. We're in amongst those final minutes. Across the line a moment ago was the number 11, Nye Roberts, still scratching outside of the top 10. And he's not alone in that assumption. Quite a few drivers we would have expected to see in that top 10 are not present. Factors, among them Christian LeBay and Cas van Velzen. Two surprising names to not see in that top 10. But we are seeing a real bizarre experience coming out of today's qualifying session. The 119 comes to the line. We'll see, is there an improvement on the charts here for LeBay? Yes, to 14th place, and he brings it to one side there before Lassour, so that's the end of his qualifying endeavours. At the best of times, it's 14th place for Christian LeBay. The 113, Kyle Jenkins just started another flying lap. We'll catch on with him in a little while. We see the number 32 not far from his current position, that being Joaquim Quadro on a flying lap. The number 12 from behind him is George Todd. So Quadro to the line, 28th at the end of qualifying. Then here comes George Todd. Can he make a break into that front row? Across the line he goes. Sadly, not the case, and finds himself stuck behind Tyler Vermaak, who managed to turn things around right at the very end of qualifying today. The South African talent on his first drive with Porsche finds himself 4th place at the end of qualifying. Number 13, not far from the line, so we'll see if we can catch on board with them before they hit the checkered line, but must be completely honest in saying that I am struggling to find the number 13. A bit of a bizarre one on this grid. There, across the line a moment ago, Dan Poulon, 20th at the end of this session. The 413 of Mason finishes this session 2nd place, and I'm sure he will be absolutely chuffed with the performance he's had in qualifying today. One of his best qualifiers, if not his best quali in Sunday League history. 413 in 2nd place. Well, the only two drivers left to go in qualifying, the number 40 and the number 113. We'll catch on board with both of them. It's Ben Hart and Kyle Jenkins at the back of the pack here. They're 18th and 19th, still squabbling for position. Ben Hart up the road with Nexus GT. His teammate Josh Wellblove has moved to BMW, so the rumours are true. He has moved away from McLaren, so we will be looking at a points reduction for moving cars. We see Ben Hart, his teammate, has come back into the field, so one more driver remains on this track, and it's Kyle Jenkins still fighting from 19th place right at the very end of qualifying here for round 5. He makes his way out of the curb of Paul Frere onto turn 17 and 18 at Blanchimont. And here we go with the 113. Out through Blanchimont we go, in towards the bus stop chicane. Down towards the line then. What will be the improvement by Jenkins? Will he stay in 19th, or will he find a position ahead of him? Across the line he goes, and sadly it's the former. He stays 19 for the end of qualifying. But what a session we've seen, and quite a few interesting results indeed to have come from qualifying today. We'll get on to the discussion of the grid in just a moment's time, but let's get on to the discussion of news in the world of motorsports. We do have an exciting article coming up in a moment's time, but let's address the elephant in the room. The Las Vegas Grand Prix occurred this morning, and with it came a result no one was expecting, as it was disaster for McLaren, and Max Verstappen won in the Las Vegas Grand Prix. He won in that race outright, and it was a fantastic result for him there. I believe his 7th or 8th consecutive podium appearance here in 2025, and this only got worse for McLaren because post-race investigation by the scrutineers disqualified both McLarens from the Las Vegas Grand Prix due to excessive plank wear. It was found that the thickness had fallen below the minimum threshold due to excessive wear, disqualifying both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. This has now brought things a lot closer, with Piastri now level on points with Verstappen, both of them only 24 points off from Lando Norris, heading to Qatar. 3 more races, including a sprint, before the end of the 2025 Formula 1 season. But here comes local news, as for the first time we have news from the Sunday League, and it is really kicking things off with an absolute atom bomb. And that's news from that of Malwar Racing's Christian Lebay. The Season 1 champion announces that at the end of Season 4, he'll be leaving Aston Martin to join Jaguar for Season 5. According to Lebay himself, the justification of this move away from Aston Martin to Jaguar was based off of a hopeful sign found during prolonged testing of the Jaguar XK-G3, of which he's been driving to great success over on the Competizione Performance League Jaguar GT3 Revival Series. He found that he's up to a second faster than his times in the V12 Vantage in the Jaguar, and that was what reinforced his move over to Jaguar for Season 5. After 4 seasons of competition, one of the longest driver and car pairings we've seen in the Sunday League, an iconic duo that's been charted over the last 4 seasons, including a championship win in Season 1, Lebay will abandon the V12 Vantage for greener pastures, so it seems, the Jaguar to become his new car for Season 5. So that's the end of our news here. We'll be getting onto the grid in just a moment's time for the starting procedure of Round 5 of Season 4, the NLRL Sunday League. Just to give you a quick refresher of where we are in the calendar, we're right slap bang in the middle of it all in Season 4. Heading on to an hour of racing today here in Spa, then we're on to a double sprint in Round 6, back onto an hour at Alton Park, an endurance format an hour and a half in Kyalami, another double sprint in Laguna Seca, and back to an hour to round out the championship where we rounded it out last season, back at the Grand Prix Circuit Silverstone, straddling the county lines between Buckinghamshire and Northamptonshire in Great Britain on the 11th of January. Well, looking at the grid here for round 5 of the championship, we do find ourselves with a very peculiar grid indeed. Melvin Milliston on a dominant pole position, so no surprises there from the number 1 Velocity Racing McLaren. But looking at that front row, 3.5 seasons is what it took here for James Mason to put himself on the front row, and the youngster will be absolutely elated with where he's put himself at the end of qualifying today. He starts right up alongside the defending champion. Right behind him is another champion charging onto his back end, the 33 of Jason Bush, the Season 2 Sunday League champion, a man once nicknamed the Rocket Man in the 33 Lexus, now finds himself 3rd place on return to the season. He's alongside Tyler Vermack on that second row on his first drive for Porsche. Behind him is George Todd on his first drive for the 5-star esports team after his signing at the end of round 4. He starts 5th, and on that 3rd row alongside him, the rookie sensation William Bajor leading in the rookies division for the starting grid today. Not far, as a matter of fact, from overtaking Sam Angel if he continues on progress such as this. He's already done it in the overalls, but the division championships would explain otherwise. Ben Cheeseman in 7th with Stefan Nikolai in 8th place, making an all 5-star esports 4th row, and they're ahead of Sam Angel and the 719 and Alan Alexander to round out the top 10 on his first drive with Porsche as well. Cas van Veltzen just outside of the top 10 finds himself 11th and alongside the rookie winner of round 1, Zolt Beefgartner, we've seen before with Tempest Motorsport. He starts 12th place on that 6th row. In the 7th row behind, 13th place for Nye Roberts and Christian Lebay, the Season 1 champion, in 14th place, ahead of Taylor Wolford in 15th with Scott Milbank in 16th, Josh Wellbeloved in 17th with Ben Hart in 18th, Kyle Jenkins 19th, and Dan Jr. Poulon rounds out the top 20. Willow Taylor in 21st, ahead of Alex Albert in 22nd, Sergio Belda in 23rd, ahead of Ranko Lagovic in 24th, Ivan Sanchez in 25th, JM Quito 26th, Joaquin Quadro in 27th, with Andrew Velkamp in 28th, Anthony Cotti in 29th, and rounding out that grid, so it seems, the 99 of Thiago Moreira in 30th place. One of the highest turnouts we've seen here in the Sunday League, and with just under a minute before the start of the formation lap, this could get dicey. Moreover, when you consider here an hour of racing, currently the predictions for weather still show 30 minutes at the barest minimum of clear racing. We still do not know what is going to happen in that second half. We're praying for a dry race today because this was dreaded by all drivers on the grid today of the worst case scenario. We saw in yesterday's race of the XCL Pro Series coverage for round 4 of their championship over at Watkins Glen. Wet races can really do numbers on the drivers. It is a proper war for them heading into any track, and even on a track a lot more simplistic than that of Spa, being like Watkins Glen, only 11 corners to Spa's 20. It was still a monstrous challenge for them yesterday. We'll see what our Sunday League grid can do with what looks like uncertain conditions for the road ahead. But one thing is certain for now, and that is going to be dry starts. So no consideration right now for a wet weather strategy. They will still have to sort of brave the storm, as it were, the start of this race right now. Starting from the pit lane, Ben Cheeseman and Tiago Moreira, the 114 and the 99, but we're on board here with Melvin Milliston, who takes us away for the start of the formation lap. For the first time then in Season 4 of the Sunday League, all 3 former champions are on the grid, including on your screens here, the defending champ. This is a meeting of the minds, the clash of the titans, as it were. With Bush only on that second row, not too far away at all from Melvin Milliston. Bear in mind, taking a look back through the historic win records, you find that it is still a joint second place, if I'm not mistaken. That's the previous race wins this season. You can see Melvin Milliston has already carved his path out to become the first driver in the history of the Sunday League to go double figures for race wins. We saw domination through Season 3 and Season 4 so far to do that for him with win number 11. Wesley Kuiper, Jason Bush and Tyler Vermack are all joint second place. We'll see then, with Bush very much so in competitive form. We've just been informed as well of a third starting from the pit lane there. That is, I believe, Carl Jenkins, Ben Cheeseman and Tiago Moreira now your 3 starting from the pit lane. So that's more recent announcements. But as you can see there, the most amount of race wins. Milliston leads by a while here, but we could start to see the resurgence of Jason Bush. Can he emerge from what is a joint second place to definitively put himself on that front row? Well, only time will tell. We'll see exactly how things unfold in an hour of racing to follow here in the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. It's looking to be a very lively grid for today. 30 cars on track. Well, 30 cars in the race. Currently 3 from the pit lane makes 27 on track as we make our way down through turn 11. Looking out past that front row, you can see there's Tyler Vermack making a brief cameo to the front row. He'll be starting down in 4th place behind that of Jason Bush, who's in 3rd for this race. See here, this is Stefan Nicolai in the rookies division. He finds himself 8th place right now for the starting grid. Cheeseman starts from the pit lane. The 114 was, well, looks of it, there's 7th according to the telemetry. That does push Cas van Velzen up into the top 10, and I'm sure he won't be arguing with that state of affairs. The 420 up an extra position for the race start. Now, to get a look on board here, we want to try and catch with James Mason. This is a real talk of the grid right now. And now the youngster we've seen plenty times throughout the Sunday League, 3.5 seasons in competition. He's a veteran driver in his own respect. I think there was a very famous chapter as well where he had broken, but I still tend to forget exactly what he broke. It was either his wrist or his arm, but he still made the effort to sit down and compete. And some people even claim that made him faster at the end of the day. And we have seen continuous improvement from the 413. Today has really been a crowning moment, but he's got to make true on what he's laid before him. He starts in 2nd place, and it'll be his duty to hold on to it for love nor money, because he's in that prime time seat to charge for the race lead. Really, right now here in Spa, with uncertain conditions around the corner, it is any man's game, and what is a monstrously large grid for today's race. 30 cars in all, 27 on track. We're getting down towards Blanchimont because here, this is George Todd. He's got a bit of expectation on his shoulders heading into this race. It's his first time for 5-Star Esports after his recent signing, and this will be his first opportunity to impress. Now competing for 5-Star in their efforts to become the team's champions. They're not far off of velocity, and now would be the best possible time for them to get the leg up, as they now find themselves with a very large squadron of vehicles up towards the front, including Mason and right now Todd as well, to become the 2 top scorers for that. To get that charge up on velocity. Looking here, this is the ace in the hole for Maloir Racing. I mean, they were the defending team's champions for as long as we can remember for this season. They won back in Season 3, the first ever running of the team's champion for the Sunday League, and they won outright. They were properly dominant in their heyday last season. Right now, they do find themselves quite a ways down the order in the presence of new competition. And with Jason Bush, the most recent signing, this could be what they need after long last. He's got quite the race to follow on from. He's been out of the competition here for a season and a half after taking victory in Season 2's championship. Become the first ever American champion in the history of the Sunday League. Well, we'll see exactly how things pan out today, as there are a lot of expectations riding on the line for quite a few drivers. And as you can see, this is possibly one of the most legendary grids I think we've seen in the history of the Sunday League. All 3 of its champions on one grid. And with James Mason 3.5 seasons in, finally onto the front row. Let's see how it all unfolds, folks. An hour of racing ahead of us here in the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for round 5 of Season 4 of the NLRL Sunday League, powered by Maloir Transport. as we make our way down towards the line. 27 on track, 3 from the pit lane. Without further ado then, here at a legendary venue, we are green and racing here in the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and a great getaway by the number 1. The 413 stays very, very close to him. We see a brilliant start so far by Tyler Vermaak, but he's forced too wide with Jason Bush and forced to cut over the Eau Rouge and Radion chicane. Uphill we go. We see here from Stefan Nicolai's point of view as it spreads out. William Bajor charges from 4th to 3rd now, as we see a little bit of contact down the line there. One of the Lexus and one of the BMWs caught up in the midst of it all. We see our pit lane runners start to escape. Tyler Vermaak, though, shoved down away by the 12 and the 333. That's William Bajor, dare I say it, looking at the chances to move up to 4th place. He is in 4th. A brilliant start then by that 333, already making moves where it matters. He's up ahead from Tyler Vermaak right now with George Todd nearby to him. Then from behind him, Stefan Nicolai with 5-Star Esports. You see here, this is Thiago Moreira and Scott Milbank. The 44 now chasing the 99. The 44 caught out at the start of today's race. Getting a look here with Stefan Nicolai. Finds himself behind Sam Angel, pushed down a ways there out through Bruxelles. Finds himself now a victim of a Lexus Tide with Zolt Beefgartner at the back of that top 10, charging for his position on track right now. Looking back up to the front row just briefly here. Mason holds on to his position. Bush maintains 3rd. And now William Bajor to 4th place up the road from Tyler Vermaak. A brilliant start then by that 333. A great start by the top 3 to maintain position on track. But you can see wasting absolutely no time here. Melvin Milliston is looking for win number 4 this season. And it'll be his 12th overall. And he's making the early moves here to get away from that 413. Now finding himself getting closer and closer to Season 2's champion. Let's see if we can catch on board here with the 413, as we do see some side-by-side action here. Willow Taylor, Nye Roberts and Ben Hart all in this maelstrom of steel here. BMWs are plenty down through Blanchemont. The 387 runs out wide from the number 11 all the way into the runoff, but is up and around Nye Roberts. He won't be particularly happy about that one, as he would have made the claim that Taylor made his move off of the track. Up the road there is Ben Hart. Let's get on board with the other of the BMWs that we wanted to center our focus on. That is James Mason, who has made one hell of a start here in today's race. He's maintained 2nd place amongst airtight pressure in that top 5. Up through Eau Rouge and Radion, let's just see from the onboard of the BMW. You can see following very closely over his rear end, the Lexus of Jason Bush. He's forced to cut Radion. It's not going to be doing him many favors in towards the Kemmel, especially knowing that Lexus has got him pitched for straight line speed. Down the line there, we can see Cas van Velzen now up the road from what appears to be the 719 of Sam Angel. Down the Kemmel straight in towards Lacombe and Melmedy. You can see Bush is gaining ground on Mason right early doors in round 5. Out through Lacombe and Melmedy. And all the meanwhile, that number 1 is just slowly escaping up the road. We cut back here to Willow Taylor and Nye Roberts, the 2 side by side, with Roberts now up and ahead of them as we exit Lacombe and Melmedy. Now down towards Bruxelles. What is the fight back chances here for Taylor? Not very lively, as we are seeing they are forced to the outside. They're going to try and take a late apex here, but they are cut off by the number 11 up the road from them there. You can see the number 6 of Taylor Wolford and Ben Hart now up a position in the number 40 in 13th place. Scott Milbank having a little wobble there. That's going to force him away from Anthony Corti in 27th. Getting a look here just up the road from Josh Welbelow. This is Ivan Sanchez down through Pouan. He's chasing his teammate Sergio Belda just at the back of the top 20 right now. We see here with Nye Roberts, he's in the top 15. We're trying to get a look, though, towards continued fighting inside of that top 10. So we're going to go to the wider views to see if we can get the best perspective. And how, as you can see, very close stuff here between Mason and Bush. Very close as well between Vermaak and Bajor. Todd from Bajor and Vermaak as well. Van Velzen not far away at all. Stefan Nicolai, his nearest form of competition now, as he's up past Sam Angel. He also made his way up past Stefan Nicolai in the number 5-star Esports McLaren 720S. We'll see, though. The driver competing from the Rookies Championship has still got a lot to prove here up against the 420. Trying to go around the outside. He'll be to the inside for turn 20, but he's just too far away on Van Velzen. He's played these games before, and he is no fool when it comes to the bus stop chicane. Make no mistake of it. George Todd charging to the back of Tyler Vermaak and William Bajor as the continued fight for 2nd place rages on between the 33 and the 413. A baptism of fire after a season and a half out. Jason Bush is not wasting any time here to get right stuck in. Up through Eau Rouge and Radion, you can see the last interval was 0.2 of a second from James Mason as we make our way through turn 6 onto the Kemmel Straight. This is where he's got the BMW right where he wants him. He's on the line. All he need do now is just crank and reel him in. And here we go in towards Lacombe and Melmedy. Up the inside goes to 33, but runs across the emergency exit. Could fall down a position as James Mason is back up on the inside. Following through comes William Bajor in the number 333. Now looking up the inside on Jason Bush, he covers him off on the run towards Bruxelles. Very close-knit stuff there between the 33 and the 333. And all this does is invite the 25 and the 12 into the fray. Right now, we have a 5-car fight for second place. It is biblical scenes here in Spa. Right now, closest among them, a fight for third between the 333 and the 333. Bush versus Bajor. The rookie sensation meets the Season 2 champion who used to wear that 333 upon the Lexus, of which he drives in today's grid. We see Tyler Vermaak up the inside, though, on William Bajor and makes a very elegant move up towards 4th place. Cutting away from Bush just briefly. Let's go on board with Tyler Vermaak, because that was really quite something. Tactical precision from the 25 on his first drive this season with Porsche. Now up the road, returns to 4th place from whence he started. Now up the road ahead of William Bajor, but not by a long distance. You can see the 333 is not wasting any time to get back up into the thick of it, in through Blanchemont. Is he daring to run things high and dry through turn 18? He is, absolutely, and all the way around the outside. He's got the inside pitched, he's rode the wave, and now he reaps the reward in towards turn 19. He's very close to him. A valiant defense by Tyler Vermaak, using the Porsche to his strong suit, and for Bajor, he loses out position to George Todd. The two are side by side though. V8 versus V6 down towards La Source. Barely 10 minutes into this race, and it is absolutely epic here in Spa. Around the outside, the number 12 tries to hold pace it with the 333, I should say, not the 33. That's 3rd place. The 333 of George. Not George Todd, of William Bajor. You can see we're already tripping over our notes here. But those two are absolutely mauling each other. What a fight we are seeing here, and we're right at the very start of round 5. Looking down the line, we can see continued fighting between Nikolai and Beefgartner. Right behind them, Alan Alexander in the 315 Porsche. We follow on board with all three of these drivers as they make their way down the Kemmel, barely separated by one another for about a 1/10 of a second. We see here Beefgartner trying his luck for the inside, is forced to run around and slides towards the emergency exit at Lacombe. Rejoins behind the number 5, incredibly close. On the exit of turn 9, rocketing down towards turn 10. It could change at a moment's notice between these three. Beefgartner is not taking this one lying down. We stay on board here with the 599. The Hungarian driver really up against it at the back of the top 10 here. He's got Alan Alexander on his trails. He's got Stefan Nikolai putting up a raucous fight for 9th place. Very few places he can go. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place on his way down towards turn 12. An unbelievable start, make no mistake of it, and I don't think we're far off from seeing another fight inside of that top 5. Last interval showed a 10th between Bajor and Todd, and they continue to fight through campus. Down towards Stavelot, up the road as well, we see that Bush and Vermaak, not far from one another, but even closer is Bush and Mason. This could be prime time territory. He already made a move down towards Lacombe, and it fumbled the first time for the number 33 of Jason Bush. But now he's got Mason right where he wants him. There is far fewer risk involved in the run down towards the bus stop chicane if he can find his way to the inside, which momentum is definitely seeming to prove so for the 33. He could have a chance for a move up to second, but he's not found it on the inside there. So he goes for the slightly more conservative line through turn 19 to keep momentum to turn 20. From behind him, we see Tyler Vermaak continue to hold on to 4th place ahead of William Bajor and George Todd. Cas van Velsen up to 7th now, up the road from Sam Angel, but as you can see, drops position down away. Stefan Nikolai sneaks his way through to 7th place. Van Velsen down away with Alexander 9th, Beefgartner in 10th, LeBay in 11th. And not to leave out the drivers outside of that top 10, we can see it is an absolute war between Willow Taylor, Taylor Wolford and Alex Albert down towards La Source at turn 1. A violent snapback there from the number 6, the Australian in the Porsche. Taylor Wolford for VEC Esports is throwing absolutely everything into this drive right now. the absolute kitchen sink into everything on his way up through Arouge and Radion, currently being pursued by Malwar Racing's Alex Albert down in 17th place. He's forced to cut over Radion, and that leaves the number 6 with a little bit more breathing space. Moreover, it forces Albert down into the iron sights of both Sergio Belda and Josh Wellbelow. The two fighting for what is currently 18th. Could be an extra position here with Belda looking up the inside on Alex Albert. Could it be 17th place for the number 74 of Holkianos Motorsports, trying his way around the outside now at Lecom. It is a very awkward line. It was so nearly contact between himself and the Lexus of Alex Albert, but what it has allowed is Josh Wellbelow to sneak on through. Following in his wake is Ben Cheeseman down towards Rivage. The 54 sneaks his way around Sergio Belda, now finds himself backed up onto the 114. Bringing ourselves back into the fight up through the top 10. We still see Vermac leading the charge up the road here from William Bajot. He's in 4th place right now, up the road from the 333 with the number 12 right behind. And as you can see there, do my eyes deceive me? Or is that? Yes, it is. It is James Mason. What on earth happened here for James Mason? Moreover, just trying to recount my notes here, what happened for Jason Bush? Oh no, I fear the worst here. Those two were fighting vehemently for position. They find themselves now, one of them out of the top 10 in its entirety, one of them at the back of the top 5. I think we can start to piece together precisely what's gone on there, folks. Even more trouble, so it seems, for Sergio Belda. He finds himself now stuck out behind Wellbelow. Cheeseman right behind him there, now going around the outside, will be to the inside for the run into turn 17 up Blanchemont. You can see with Cheeseman, there is a storm of steel in front of him. BMWs are plenty in that pack. Caught in the middle is Alex Albert, now looking to be intercepted by Ben Hart up the inside down at turn 19. It's contact between himself and Nye Roberts. He's collected by Alex Albert, and as you can see, it is bedlam erupting down to the bus stop chicane. Sneaking his way through, here goes Ranko Lagovic up the road from Ivan Sanchez. There's Nye Roberts to his right-hand side, pulls in to the pit wall. That could be the end of the road here for Roberts. Oh no, goodness gracious me. That was a big one down at turn 19 and 20. One small kick there has put everything up for grabs. We see into the pit lane at the moment after his seemingly incident there with the 413 is Jason Bush. He's into the pits. Currently now having fallen out of the top 15, he makes the earliest of pit lane runs. This is all going to be strategic for him later down the line. Looking for what remains of our top 10, we see George Todd now up to 4th place, fighting with William Bajor for the last of the podium positions. Tyler Vermac in 2nd place, as the fight of second seemingly has fragmented away from them. With James Mason now at the back of the top 5, we see Jason Bush was in the pit lane. There had to have been an incident between the pair of them to force them that far down the order. Sadly, we missed out on whatever that incident was. I'm sure they didn't. He's now making his way down towards campus. James Mason started 2nd, now to 5th. He'll be beside himself with anger over what's gone on today. You still see very close fighting between these three, Vermac, Bajor and Todd, all gunning for position here. 3 different teams, Exclusive Esports, VEC Esports and 5-Star Esports, all competing for 2nd place, with Velocity leading by a landslide. 8.5 seconds for Melvin Milliston. The Super Swede is on peak form here in the dry conditions in Spa, where we were anticipating a wet and wild ride here at round 5. It has been swimmingly for Milliston. Vermac still being pursued, but it's much closer here between Bajor and Todd. The two very nearly side by side on the run down towards turn 19. Trying for a switch back there. The number 12 putting absolutely everything momentum-wise into a drive out of turn 20 to keep pace with the Mustang. Bajor is doing more than enough in this time to hold on to 3rd place, but George Todd is not going away anytime soon. That number 12, an omnipresent sight in the rear view mirrors of that 333 Mustang. As a matter of fact here, let's see if we can stay on board with Bajor, the defending of 2 in this fight for 3rd place. They rocket up Arouge and Radion. Up they go, turns 3, 4 and 5. Ferrari keeping close stead here, 0.2 of a second, but this is where that 5.4 litre Ford M Sport, Ford Performance V8 Coyote motor, whatever you call it, can sing to its heart's content with that Ferrari in hot pursuit down towards Lecom and Melmedy. dare I say it, we did report back in our previous findings for speed that Ferrari had shown notable improvements in the hands of George Todd, and you could see it chief in point there, where most Ferraris would have been gapped on their way between turns 6 and 7. He did not find any such trouble. As a matter of fact, he was in the run through Lacombe and Melmedy that he's lost any amount of time to William Bajor in 3rd place. Looking down the road, we can see a very close ensemble of fights going on from behind our drivers right now, away from George Todd's point of view as we try to catch on board here with quite a few of these battles. We see this is Alex Albert's point of view. The number 36 Lexus with Malwar Racing. You see here down through turn 10. Up in front of him is Ben Hart and Ben Cheeseman. He runs out wide though through turn 10. A little bit of trouble there for the 36. We see this is the race leader. Melvin Milliston now running up onto the number 33 of Jason Bush, now 27th after his pit lane runs. I want to catch on board though because I can see a fight brewing here. Cas van Velzen versus Alan Alexander versus Zolt Beefgartner. 2 rookies versus a seasoned veteran now. Van Velzen's drive with Mercedes has really been one to remember. A very, very significant chapter for the Dutch talent. The next generation of the Flying Dutchman namesake here in the Sunday League, a title previously held by Wesley Kuiper. Out through Blanchemont, it's much closer behind between the 315 and the 599. Let's see if we can catch on board with Alan Alexander as he's under siege here. Runs ultra wide out through turn 19. That's big trouble for Alan Alexander. He loses seemingly that position out to the Lexus of Zolt Beefgartner. He's down in 9th place. Beefgartner up to 8th. LeBay currently in 10th and not too far away at all. It is a very bizarre thing to consider that these are among the final rounds we'll ever see of the V12 Vantage, now riding on the announcement that he'll be moving to Jaguar for Season 5. What is an iconic part of the championship may no longer be part of it by next season. Watch here, though, with Alan Alexander up through Rouge and Radion. That absolutely guttural cry of that 4-litre flat 6 in the number 315 Porsche. Alan Alexander in pursuit here of 5.4 litres of Lexus V8 on its way down towards Lacombe and Melmedy. Around the outside goes the 315 later on the brakes, trying to put pressure on the 599, but Beefgartner does not brake so easy. In through turn 9 at Melmedy, he continues to lead by 0.2 of a second in the fight of 8th place. We stay on board with these two and their continued efforts for 8th. Out through the no-name corner. Out through Pruon we go at turn 12. You can see where maneuverability is on his side here. We're seeing eerily reminiscent performance of what we saw out of Cas van Velzen when he moved to Porsche last season. Alan Alexander seems a lot more acclimatized to things with Porsche than he was with Ferrari. He's a lot more comfortable. As you can see here, he's really able to push the envelope out on that 315, heading down through Stavelot. He's keeping wind here for that fight of 8th place, but this is where the Lexus is going to get away from him unless he can religiously commit himself to the slipstream generated by the 599 of Zolt Beefgartner. Looking at where we stand here, we're nearly a quarter of an hour into this race, and I must pan away from this fight unless it picks up in the next couple of corners here, because there is continued fighting for 2nd place. Bajor is gaining on Vermac. That is something to talk about in just a moment's time. The 25 continues to lead down towards La Source. We watch here, though. He's running into a spot of bother up the road. I believe that was Cas van Velzen gunning to the pit lane. There goes the 420. Giving the fight up now to 7th place between Beefgartner and Alan Alexander. Looking at where we stand, though, after nearly 20 minutes of racing, Melvin Milliston leads by a landslide. 10.9, nearly 11 seconds now to Tyler Vermac, who is really under some tremendous pressure here in Spa. William Bajor is sick and tired of 3rd place. He'd like a chance at 2nd, and here comes the opportunity for it in the fight of 2nd place. On board with Bajor, side by side, Porsche versus Ford, down towards Lacombe Lacombe. He's run all the way to the outside there at the start of turn 7, then to turn 8 is caught up by the number 12 as the number 25 runs into a spot bother around the outside at turn 9. He's up to second, and George Todd follows in his wake here for the fight of third place with Tyler Vermack. A minor bit of contact between the 25 and the 12. It is all kicked off, and we are at DEFCON 1 for that podium fight. George Todd slips his way through to try and find his way to third place. James Mason is not too far away at all from this fight, so we'll have to pause on the discussion of where the grid stands right now, because I don't think we've seen the half of it. In through turn 12 we go then. Tyler Vermack down to third. William Bajor to second place for VEC Esports. A remarkable drive by the 333 today. George Todd clings to the back end of the 25, and all of this pushing and shoving, mind you, has invited in James Mason to come and play here. He started second, had the incident with Jason Bush, is now to the back of the top 5, but his fight is not yet finished. So for the brief respite we have between major fights here, we stay on board in the fight of second place from the view of the man in the middle. Tyler Vermack caught between Bajor and Todd. A rock and a hard place for the number 25. He finds himself in third. Melvin Milliston leads then with William Bajor in second place. Tyler Vermack in third with George Todd in fourth. James Mason in fifth with Stefan Nikolai in sixth. Zolt Beefgartner in seventh. Alan Alexander in eighth with Christian LeBay ninth. And Sam Angel rounds out the top 10. Willow Taylor up to 11th place. A remarkable drive for their return in the 387 BMW. They're ahead of Taylor Wolford in the number 6 Porsche. They're down in 12th place. Josh Welbelove 13th with Cheeseman 14th, Hart 15th, Belder 16th, Milbank 17th, Albert 18th, Sanchez 19th, and Veldkamp to round out the top 20. Kyle Jenkins in 21st, Joaquin Quadro in 22nd, Anthony Colty in 23rd. And there we see our pit lane runners. Cass Van Veltzen to 24th, JM Keto 25th, Jason Bush to 26th, and Dan Jr. Poulon to 27th with Ranko Lagovic 28th, Thiago Moreira and Nye Roberts 29th and 30th, with Moreira yet to have pitted. Roberts seemingly a DNF from this race. Most recent move to the pit lane has come from Ben Cheeseman. The 114 is in. So we see among one of the closest fights on track. We do cut away as well to another very close by fight. This is between Taylor Wolford and Ben Hart, and also I believe that is not Ben Hart. That is in fact his teammate. Very hard to tell them apart here after his move to BMW, but that is Josh Welbelove. Previously drove for Lamborghini and McLaren. This is his third car this season, and seemingly a choice well made, as he does find himself now outgunning his fellow 6-cylinder as he's right up alongside Taylor Wolford, but he's got him better on the brakes. Down towards Lacombe and Melmedy we go, back up to 12th place. Looking back in for this fight here, George Todd finds himself losing distance to Tyler Vermack. He finds himself in stalemate right now between 3rd and 5th. James Mason in equal stead here finds himself a little distant from his teammate at 5-star Stefan Nikolai. William Bajor, though, above and beyond in what he's been able to do today, and we're not even halfway in a round 5. Bajor in second. Quickly checking back in here, Welbelove still up the road from Wolford, and is now opening the taps here in his continued efforts up to 12th place. Briefly checking in on the fight between Alexander and Beefgartner. They find themselves down towards Blanchimont, but they are separated by upwards of growing to be a second here. Thiago Moreira still in the pit lane, but it looks like a potential disconnect warning was for that of Moreira in the 99. We see James Mason into the pit lane then. A less than ideal opening stint, but there is an opportunity to salvage this. He comes into the pits, and in front of him there, you can see is George Todd in the number 12 Ferrari, his new teammate at the 5-star esports team. These two might need to work together here, and what is one of the longest, if not the longest, pit lane run in ACC. Not only do you use the entirety of the Grand Prix paddock, of which is used for the Belgian Grand Prix, you also have to run all the way around the inside of La Source and down towards the GT paddock. Important question from 5-star Jupiter. What are the corner numbers for the second half of Lacombe and Melmedy? The second half of Lacombe and Melmedy is 8 and 9. I was fearing the worst. I thought he was going to ask me. Yeah, I can see already what he's trying to do. He's trying to get me to say the funny number. the funny, trendy number that everyone seems to like me saying for some reason. But, you know, I will oblige. We are here with Josh Wellbeloved in between turns 6 and 7. Oh, God, I don't get paid enough for that, do I really? I don't get paid enough to do 6-7 jokes in big November 2025. Ah, oh, goodness. Into the pits, then, we can see a whole swarm of drivers. Among them is Ivan Sanchez. We can see among him as well, we see George Todd already into the pit lane. He's on his way out as we speak. So you can see James Mason will be following not too far from him. Also in the pit lane at this time, Ivan Sanchez and Andrew Veldkamp. Also in the pit lane still is Nye Roberts and Thiago Moreira. Might have to make a rule here. Every time someone in chat asks me to say 6-7, I'm going to have to charge someone money. So you will need to throw your PayPal information in chat if you want me to keep saying that. Out through Blanchimont we go through turn 17 and 18. Down through turn 19 and 20. We're on board with Stefan Nicolai as he makes his way to the pit lanes here for his run. Bear in mind, 25-second minimum fuel stop in this race, and compound that with the longest pit lane in ACC. This is really quite a vital section. Corner numbers for Brooklands and Luffield. I know what you're trying to do, and you're gonna have to wait until round 10 now. You're gonna have to wait until the 11th of January before you get to hear me say that again. You see here, this is Melvin Milliston, and he's up the road right now, having lapped the 33 of Jason Bush, who does find himself now up to 22nd, and he'll continue to climb through the order here. I believe him to be at this time not too far off of that of Cas van Veltzen. He finds his way on the exit right now actually on the entry, I should say, of turn 12. Bush finds himself running in towards turn 11. We do have trouble here. This is for the 99, if I'm not mistaken. Thiago Moreira in a spot of bother with Porsche. Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, we do have Silverstone at Console Endurance Series next Saturday. Also into the pits comes Stefan Nicolai. We saw him in not a moment ago. Zolt Beefgartner joins him, and so too does Christian LeBay and Alex Albert. All of them into the pits as we speak, and right now that leaves the landscape as following, heading towards the halfway mark. Melvin Milliston leading with the fastest lap, William Bajor second, and Tyler Vermack third. Alan Alexander to fourth place, Sam Angel fifth, and Willow Taylor in sixth place. Josh Wellbeloved in seventh, but as you can see there, trouble for the 54 through Lacombe and Melmedy. So we do have a little bit more insight now, thanks to our viewers in chat, as to what exactly happened in that incident involving the 33 and the 413. So what ended up happening was a case where it was desync between the 33 and the 413, ultimately led to the collision that has now waylaid the chances for both James Mason and Jason Bush. See here, Christian LeBay making his way out of the pit, soon to be intercepted then by Jason Bush. He makes his way out through La Source here at turn 1, 32 minutes left to go. The race is on here. Season 1's champion exits the pit lane as Season 2's champion is in pursuit on the start of turn 2. As for Season 3's champion, well, Melvin Milliston now leads by 12.6 seconds to William Bajor, and Tyler Vermack, the Season 3 runner-up, was crowned at Silverstone as the champion, but a post-race investigation took it off of his hands. Finds himself third and set to drop down the order as he's into the pit lane. That leaves Alan Alexander with the chances to take a podium for the time being. We'll see exactly where he stacks up when strategy plays its hand. 32 minutes left to go in round 5. I must say, for Alan Alexander and Tyler Vermack, it's been an ambitious story for the pair of them to move over to Porsche. And like we saw back in Season 3 for Cas van Veltzen, it was a bit of a controversial decision because Porsche, compared to anything else on this grid, is functionally alien. I mean, very few cars exist, if any, that aren't manufactured by Porsche on the GT3 field that have this kind of layout. In fact, I think it is only Porsche to be running a car this extreme. The rear engine platform almost exclusively belongs to them. The only other manufacturer manufacturer in the entirety of ACC to be running rear-engined is Alpine, down in GT4 with their A110. And that too suffers from the same problems as the 911. 8th generation model now, the 992 GT3R, most recently had some upgrades for the 2025 IMSA Sports Car Championship. Not that we'll be seeing any of them here in the Sunday League. It's still tried and true, the same recipe that it's existed for Porsche since the 50s. One of the most popular sports cars of all time, if not the most popular sports cars of all time, in my honest opinion. But the problem with choosing it is you do have to massively reconfigure your efforts to drive a GT3 car. You have to unlearn a lot of habits front or mid-engine will teach you, because rear-engine is a completely different kettle of fish. And such has been the challenge faced by both Vermaak and Alexander today, with great fervour, as right now, in spite of strategy, Alexander finds himself for the time being in third. That's soon to be second as William Bajor is into the pit lane. We'll see whether or not he follows to counter. Bear in mind, in the rookies division, these two are fighting for that lead. He's not alone in that fight. Stefan Nicolai and Zolt Beefgartner are both considerations to that margin. Also in the pit lane at this time, Sergio Belda just on his way out. Joaquin Quadro's in, and so too is Anthony Cotti. So it's going to be a big mix-up here as we see more drivers in. Here comes Sam Angel in the 719. Willow Taylor following him in the 387. We'll see if that is the same story carried forward by Ben Hart. Yes, into the pit lane goes the number 40, Willis teammate at Nexus GTB following him with Taylor Wolford on his tail. The 54 goes in, the number 6 stays out. So Taylor Wolford trying for the undercut on the two Nexus GT BMWs, knowing the enormous length of that pit lane run. They'll be spending upwards of 40 to 50 seconds before they've even come to a full stop to refuel the car. Josh Welbelove's into the pit lane at this time, so we've seen that already. Kyle Jenkins stays out as well to shift positions up past both Nexus GT cars. You see in the pit lane there, just alongside him briefly, that was the 719 of Sam Angel. 28, just under 29 minutes left to go. Milliston still yet to have pitted. Neither is the case for Alan Alexander. The Euro Titans 315, one of two Euro Titans cars, Euro Titans cars in this championship, alongside Archie Bowen and Cas van Veltzen, has found great fervour in his performance today. He finds himself up the road at this time from Taylor Wolford and Kyle Jenkins. All four of these drivers right now are among the last to pit. Must consider as well for the 113 of Kyle Jenkins to find himself this far up the order, in consideration to the fact that he started from the pit lane alongside the 114 of Ben Schiessman, his teammate at 5-Star Esports. He's done a very good job today. We'll see where he lands when that pit lane run is finally served. Nearest fights on track right now. The last interval was just under half a second between Cas van Veltzen and Zolt Beefgartner. So we're in for a real treat here. Melvin Milliston is into the pit lane. In the meantime, we'll see whether or not Alan Alexander is scheduled to follow with him. He's on the exit of Blanchemont, so not far from the pit entry. We'll keep an update on that as we keep the display up to our left-hand side. We stay on board, though, with the Lexus of Zolt Beefgartner in his pursuits of Cas van Veltzen. Now, as the standings update, we can find more realistically we are in this fight for 10th place. That could even be more positions as it continues to regulate. Down towards turn 10, Beefgartner losing time here over Van Veltzen. Also a very close fight at hand at this time. Outside of this fight for 10th place, we see a fight for 5th. And that's actually now realistically a fight for 4th with Milliston in the pit lanes right now. It's between Bajor and Todd. And the 12 and the 333. So with Milliston in, Alexander stays out. Same story for Wolford. No, actually, the number 6 of Wolford is in for VEC Esports. Kyle Jenkins stays out, leaves 2 cars left in this entire grid to pit. The 315, which now leads here for the time being, Alan Alexander for Euro Titans Endurance, and Kyle Jenkins now second place for 5-Star Esports. Melvin Milliston still in the pit lane, but he's soon to be released. As you see here in the background, a nearby fight for position overall, not including any kind of strategy. As we see here, William Bajor in pursuit of George Todd. Meanwhile, nearby fights still going on for Beefgartner and Van Veltzen, but it is distancing itself quickly. We also see a close-by fight here, so it seems, between Dan Poulon and JM Keto for 24th place. A close fight as well between Quadro and Lagovic down on the Kemmel Straight between turn 6 and turn 7. William Bajor still in pursuit, though. The bottom line reassured there. We stay on board here with Bajor as this continues to charge up into a fight of 4th place up Rouge and Raddy on the Mustang. Now reeling in the Ferrari at a rate of knots here out of turn 6. Getting on board here with Bajor. You can see, though, George Todd's mastery of setup is what's kept that Ferrari so competitive for so long. Where Ferrari last season would have been eaten alive by Ford, today is not such a case. We've seen that Ford, normally the straight line speed kings, replacing Aston Martin's mantle as the fastest of any vehicle on track, especially here at Spa, definitely the fastest in a straight line. Thanks to its shorter gear ratio, we do find ourselves with a very pressing issue, is the fact that unless we can get onto the straightaway here at the Kemmel very close to one another, or as a matter of fact onto the back straight through Blanchemont, that arcing, well, not really as straight as it were, but it is a flat out section where you don't really need to lift for the greater part of it. But the Ford is struggling. George Todd seemingly unlocking the hidden secrets of the Ferrari 296 here in Season 4. Out through the curb of Paul Frere, turn 16. Staying on board here with Bajor. It's 0.4 of a second between himself and George Todd. 24.5 minutes left to go. Getting a look at the overall, we see that Kyle Jenkins is in, so this will be upgraded to a fight of 3rd place coming up not too far from now. Milliston right now 3rd place with the fastest lap, looks to get up to 2nd up ahead of Jenkins. Alexander stays out for lap 15, so still no current indication as to when the 315 will pit. You see here for Peugeot, this is what he needs to absolutely nail. He's got that aero wash from the Ferrari, both of them forced to cut part of Radeon, but I think by looks of it here, he's just close enough. He's in the slipstream, sucked into the vortex behind that of George Todd's Ferrari, as we now make our way down the Kemmel between turn 6 in towards turn 7, 8 and 9 here at Lacombe and Melmedy. Goes the 333. It's still side by side, a valiant defense by the 12. More door dinging between these two, the Ford and the Ferrari. Legacy rivals in these manufacturers. Heading down towards turn 10, George Todd stays ahead. We're seeing real power play stuff here. A lot of new signings for a lot of the big teams in the Teams Championship, and for 5-star, they'll be breathing a sigh of relief here because of the continued efforts by George Todd. They could be looking at 2nd in this race. That would have made up for the loss of the 413 had that incident with the 33 over desync earlier on in this race. Very little could have been done, apparently, according to the on-site report. But this is pay dirt for 5-star. Moreover, for VEC, this is looking like a very hopeful sign for them at this time. But I must interrupt myself. The 919 and the 991 both in trouble there. That was for Anthony Cotti, and trying to see who the 991 was that's now in the pit lane. That was Ranko Lagovic in serious trouble down here on the exit of the curb of Paul Frere. We do have white flags out in front for a slow-moving car. That's the 919 BMW. Malwar Racing's Anthony Cotti in trouble. We stay on board here with Bajor and Todd navigating traffic here. That's a limping BMW, but it's done very little to stem the tide of their fight down towards turn 19 and 20, holding centre mass of the road. This is tactical by Todd. Both of them good for acceleration, but he's going to try potentially to hold the right-hand side of the track, forcing Bajor to run to the left and run the highway around La Source at turn 1. But here you can see the setup for a late apex, a potential switchback, and masterclass there by Bajor. That was graceful down through turn 1. Get a look at that on the replay. Easy action of the day here for Bajor. You can see it set up from a mile away. And out through La Source, a perfect switchback, as running wide went George Todd in the number 12. So we do have to actually upgrade this fight. It was actually for 3rd place, not for 4th. Because there was obviously the upgrade when, looking at it here, when it was Jenkins went into the pit lane. The 113. Now down in 17th place. That is crushing. But it really does go to show just how long and how important the pit lane run is here in Spa. Right now, we wait for the one final variable to fall into play. The 315 stays out on lap 17. There's 20.5 minutes left to go. And as we take a look into it, let's see what the landscape is currently looking like. And bear in mind, for a lot of these positions, they're still set to shift up one for the greater majority of this grid. Alan Alexander, though, leads before his first pit lane run. He's looking for an extreme run here, potentially looking at a 70-30 in terms of stints. He finds himself still out without his mandatory pit stop in play. Melvin Milliston with the fastest lap in 2nd place. We've just seen here the fight for 3rd, what was previously the fight for 4th before the pit lane runs of the 113 of Kyle Jenkins. Now to the fight for 3rd between William Bajour and George Todd. VEC Esports versus 5-Star. Now on the exit of turn 16 as the Mustang gains the upper hand. George Todd in 4th place. And further behind him, James Mason returned to the top 5. Now, when Alan Alexander comes in, he could be seeing an upgrade to 4th place. Tyler Vermack in 6th with Stefan Nikolai in 7th. Cass Van Veltzen in 8th with Zolt Beefgartner in pursuit from 9th place. Sam Angel rounds out the top 10 with Christian LeBay in 11th. Jason Bush, there you can see Seasons 1 and Season 2's champions, 11th and 12th. Ben Cheeseman in 13th place ahead of Willow Taylor in 14th. Scott Milbank right behind them, seemingly there in 15th place. Sergio Belda in 16th. Kyle Jenkins in 17th with Taylor Wolford in 18th. Ivan Sanchez 19th. Josh Welbelove in 20th. Andrew Velcap in 21st. Alex Albert in 22nd. Dan Poulon in 23rd. JM Quito 24th. Joaquin Quadro there in 25th with Ben Hart in 26th. Anthony Cotti from the pit lane there in the 919. That could be the end of the road for him. He's 27th right now. Thiago Moreira with damage and still no pit lane run is 4 laps down in 28th. We've lost quite a few drivers in today's race. It has been quite a brutal one here in Spa. So cutting away from these two's fight as we start to see things get a lot more lively, potentially some elbows out action here between the 420 and the 599. Zolt Beefgarter in pursuit of Cass Van Veltzen. They're on the exit of turn 9 here, and the exit of Melmedy. Let's catch on board with either party on their way down into that middle sector. Catching on board here with Zolt Beefgarter in pursuit right now for the fight of 8th place. You can see having to almost violently snap the wheel there. Those micro corrections, I say they're much more macro corrections at this time. The 599 to wrestle that Lexus into good form. You can see the Mercedes through the corners there, just gaining a little bit more and more time on him. The gap starting to open up in the middle sector here between Van Veltzen and Beefgartner. But it's that 1st and 3rd sector where we see these two close up massively. There was the suggestion towards the start of this lap that Beefgartner could challenge down towards Le Carmen Melmedy. He's just a little too far away to do so. Into the pit lane right now, the 315, so the assurances of the number 1 to lead once more are coming up round the corner quite literally as he makes his way down towards turn 1. We're on board though with Zolt Beefgartner and Cass Van Veltzen. Their fight for 8th place could be upgraded to a fight of 7th. We'll see exactly if that's the case. The 315 has come to a full stop in his pit box. So that's Alan Alexander. He'll be moving down now to 2nd as taking the lead of the race. The number 1 of Melvin Milliston is a new race leader and back to the top step. 17 minutes left to go here in Spa. Down towards turn 19 and 20. Van Veltzen in defensive form now from Zolt Beefgartner after a little bit of upset through turn 19. V8 versus V8. The old school Mercedes 6.3 inherited from the SLS platform up against Lexus's 5.4 litre naturally aspirated unit. Two thunderous engines there on the exit of turn 1. Let's catch on board here, the run up through Eau Rouge and Radeon just to get a feel for the situation. Alan Alexander emerges from the pit lane there, but he's overtaken, so that fight from 8th now becomes a fight for 7th. But not too far away. He has lost a lot of momentum here, admittedly having that shallower of the run for the exit of the pit lane. But Alan Alexander, if these two trip over one another, it is not too far off the suggestion he can fight once more for 7th place. We'll see how that progresses, though. 16 minutes left to go, nearly 3/4 of an hour into round 5. It has been an incredible round so far. It can only continue to get better in my mind. Heading down towards turn 10, Zolt Beefgartner at the end of that Kemmel straight found himself 0.2 of a second. So the theory that he's gaining the bulk of his time through sector 1 and 3 is seemingly coming true for him here. That Lexus set up more for the straightaways than the maneuverability intensive performance of that Mercedes. From an engineering standpoint, if I'm not mistaken, Mercedes shoved their engine a little further back towards the cockpit. I know Bentley is in the law of extremes for this, with their engine quite literally poking through into the cockpit, separated by a heat shield and the bulkhead of the car. Mercedes tried to shove the engine as far back as they can to move the center of rotation to the middle, and that looked like trouble there for Zolt Beefgartner. We catch back on board, but you can see, oh, it's trouble there. Yep, he's blipping in and out, so we cut away from Beefgartner's point of view to one with the slightly more stable internet connection. We're on board with Cas van Veltzen on the exit of the curb of Paul Frere. The 599 has had a few blips there, but he's still with him by 0.4 of a second. But that is going to become a continual problem if he can't even see his opponent trying to overtake him. Out through Blanchemont, you can see that snap there for Van Veltzen. That could lose him the position, so he goes ultra defensive here, holding what was the inside. Now gets switched on by the 599 in towards turn 19. It's going to be to the inside at turn 20, so this is elbows out for Cas van Veltzen. One tiny upset down through Blanchemont has kicked off this fight once again on the exit of turn 20. Now on the run to La Source at turn 1. Van Veltzen holding the inside, swings out towards the racing line here to try and conserve as much momentum as he can. Knows that the Lexus will be on him like a pack of hungry wolves on his way down the Kemmel, so he's got to make the most of these next 4 corners here. Turn 2, then turns 3, 4 and 5 up the Eau Rouge and Raidillon. 3, 4, then 5. You can see a little bit more of a snap there from Van Veltzen. His Mercedes is fighting him. Now through turn 6. This is where it could all go wrong. Holds to the inside. He's fully bracing now for the arrival of the 599. He's up and alongside him. He's in his side draft, trying to go later on the brakes. Zolt Beefgartner runs out wide and is forced back in behind the 420 of Cas van Veltzen. Super high pressure between these two, and just as the theory suggested, Alan Alexander has snuck his way back to this fight of 7th place. So looking at it there, these two tripping over one another was exactly the recipe he needed to put himself in the fight for 7th. Here's Alan Alexander in the 315. Now chasing from the back end of Zolt Beefgartner and Cas van Veltzen. He's got front row tickets to that fight of 7th place. We'll stay here with Alan Alexander as we quickly take a gander around the field here. That is one of the closest fights we're seeing from the point of view of a driver right in the front seat of this prime time fight between Beefgartner and Van Veltzen. Other nearby fights, LeBay v Bush, a fight for the ages here. Season 1's champ versus Season 2. And as far as I remember, Bush was behind LeBay, so that has been an exchange of position already off the bat as we catch on with these two. Christian LeBay, Season 1's champion. Jason Bush, Season 2's champion. Both of them aficionados of the older GT3s, the Aston Martin V12 Vantage and the Lexus RCF. But as we're going to see from LeBay in Season 5, it'll be the Jaguar Emilfray Racing XKG3 that we've seen oh so much over on the Competizione Performance League's Jaguar GT3 Revival Series. The next round coming up at Donington Park this coming Wednesday. Wednesday at 1 a.m. GMT for our British viewers. For our American viewers, I believe it is still at, if memory serves me correctly, I think it's around 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern. See, though, LeBay losing a lot of steam there to Bush, so we're going to catch back on board with our 3 in that fight for 7. As you can see, we have caught on at possibly the most intense time here, very nearly side by side up the Eau Rouge and Raidillon. We watch here with Alan Alexander as he's thrust forth into warfare, as nearly running to the wall there was Cas van Veltzen. It allows Beefgartner to slip through. Moreover, it gives the tow here for Alan Alexander to push for 7th place as he's right up to the back end of the 599 Lexus RCF. Down through Lacombe into Melmedy. Alexander knows that he's got that maneuverability to his aid here. The Porsche going toe-to-toe with the Lexus. He's got him through the corners. Straight line speed, though, as we've seen time and time again, is on Lexus's side. And one thing that must be considered as well is the threat of desync with the 599's connection seemingly all over the shop. In through turn 11 at the no-name corner. Alan Alexander runs out wide. That's going to put a lot of pressure on him now to try and break distance from the 420 right behind him. He could be finding himself less so in a fight for 7th and more so in a fight for 8th. 10 minutes left to go here in Spa, and we are now fully in the midst of it all. Cas van Velzen looking to swiftly regain position in the Mercedes up the inside through Campus. A little snap out just pushed Alexander away. Now he finds himself defending for 9th place, as arriving at his heels there is the 719 Lexus of Sam Angel. Looking up through the current state of affairs here, we find Melvin Milliston leads ahead of William Bergeau in 2nd, his best result in the Sunday League so far, and still leading in the rookies division. And on this form, he's set to overtake the championship in the next couple of rounds. George Todd in 3rd place, James Mason up to 4th. Vermac not far off by a long shot there, is less than a second to the last interval in 5th place. Stefan Nicolai in the rookies podium right now with Zolt Beefgartner 6th and 7th. Cas van Velzen in 8th there, briefly got up past Alan Alexander as a bit of a snap on the exit of turn 20, and there chasing from behind to round out the top 10 is Sam Angel. Just to briefly catch up here with the fight between Vermac and Mason on the exit of Radion into the Kemmel Straight. You can see the gap between the two there, about 2 to 3 car lengths, perhaps even 3 to 4 car lengths between the 413 and the 25. Mason having since recovered at least part of the problems sustained throughout this race. That incident with the 33 has not done a particularly great job for him, as he's now found himself 2 positions down from where he started, and with Vermac potentially looking to make that 3 places down. Vermac chasing for 4th. For Vermac, this would be a return to neutral position here. He started 4th in this race. He intends to finish there. But a big snap out, and this is going to be the continued problem found for our Porsche drivers. Van Velzen, though, retires to the pit lane. A major incident for the 420. We saw already the inklings of it up through Eau Rouge and Radion. We can only assume the worst here. Cas van Velzen seemingly out of round 5 with 8 minutes left to go. For Alan Alexander and Zolt Beefgartner, they find themselves now separate by 2.2 seconds. Sam Angel hasn't lost track of Alexander. And taking a look for the Porsches, we see Tyler Vermac and James Mason navigating lap traffic. The 32 to his right-hand side, that's Joaquin Quadro, and the 32 giving him the space through turns 15 and now to turn 16. You can see the nose diving in there on James Mason's BMW. We stay on board here with Tyler Vermac in the fight of 4th place, on board in his first race with Porsche. Into Blanchimont we go. Turn 18, rockets on through, but he knows if he can get even a slight look up the inside, he'll have him on the brakes. Later onto the brakes there, but has he overdone it in through turn 19? He does stick his way to the inside at turn 20, and there is a great chance, but turned around by Joaquin Quadro. Lapped traffic takes out Tyler Vermac. Get a look at that on the replay. Too close for comfort. That has not gone his way, not at all. Turned around by Joaquin Quadro in his efforts to stay with the pack. Tyler Vermac now down to 5th place. Stefan Nicolai 3 seconds out. Could be having a shot at a 5th place spot here. For Alan Alexander, we're back on board with him as Sam Angel continues to mount that pressure on the 315 out through turn 1 at La Source. This is the worst possible place to have a Lexus in your rear view mirror, as we're into a straightaway section here up through Eau Rouge and Radion and onto the Kemmel. He'll be at the mercy of all 8 cylinders firing beneath the bonnet of that Lexus. Up through turns 3, 4 and 5, then we go through Eau Rouge and Radion. Alexander having to throw the kitchen sink into these corners out through turn 6, and now he's got to cross his fingers and pray that he's done enough to keep Sam Angel at bay here. Looking up the inside, though, Sam Angel in the 719 sticks it up the inside for the start of Lecombe. Can he hold it there as running around the outside? Alan Alexander at turn 9. It's contact between the pair of them. They're still running down towards Bruxelles at turn 10. The Lexus still on the inside, goes later on the brakes than the Porsche. These two glued to one another as we start the middle sector, but up into 7th place goes Sam Angel. Alan Alexander, actually, sorry, this is not for 7th, this is for 8th place. As Zolt Beefgartner has disappeared up the road. This was for 8th place, my mistake there. And Sam Angel up to 8th place from Alan Alexander. Still finds himself in the top 10. There is a grim sight on that timing chart there. Jason Bush is back to the top 10 and 3.1 seconds away. And closing, mind you. That is a dangerous sign. We saw this was the ticking time bomb most drivers got both barrels of through Season 2. Now Alan Alexander in his rookie championship here in the Sunday League is about to feel the full force of Season 2's champion, because as you can see there, just lurking in the background, 3.3 seconds and closing in. Cue the Jaws theme, why don't you? Because on the way through Blanchimont, it is a matter of when, not if, Jason Bush will catch. It is a dangerous, dangerous sight there. He's sandwiched between 2 Lexuses. That makes 3 Lexuses if you consider Zolt Beefgartner 5 seconds up the road from Alexander at this time. Still hunting Sam Angel, 0.8 of a second as we make our way on to lap 23. 5 minutes left to go in this race. The chances are still there. You can see the physical gap. They're on the same stretch of tarmac as they make their way down towards turn 1. 2:18.9 on that last lap to a 2:21.2. Alan Alexander may have had his goose cooked here on his way through turn 2. Because those signs point quite nastily in the direction of being caught by the end of this race. What a sound, that howl of the 4-litre flat 4 under the rear of that Porsche. Well, we'll catch on with Alan Alexander in a moment's time. Let's take a look around the field to see where our nearby fights are coming from. Willow Taylor versus Scott Milbank. 2 Beamers head-to-head on the exit of turn 6. Milbank in pursuit here. This is for 13th place. Willow Taylor holding on in the 387, but is being caught up at a rate of knots. They've got to do their best here to try and hold centre mass of the road in towards Lecombe and Melmedy, but not sell themselves short on the brakes, and that's the trouble in through the emergency exit. Willow Taylor now intercepted on the inside, tries to run high around the outside at turn 9, holds onto it. I don't think Milbank will be particularly pleased with how that's panned out, but he's still got the chances to overtake Willow Taylor on their way through to that middle sector. We'll catch on with these two in a little while's time. We take a look around the field. Josh Welbler finds himself clear of Ivan Sanchez's 91 BMW. So looking through all the BMWs here, we now scroll away from BMW entirely to find Aston Martin. And really, it is quite a bittersweet note, is it not, to know that we are among the final 7 or so races, 5 rounds after today, of that V12 Vantage, and it doesn't really seem to be anyone on the grid who is going to carry the torch forward after LeBay leaves Aston Martin to go and join Jaguar for Season 5. It has been probably one of the most iconic vehicles in the Sunday League. I remember all the way back in Season 1, Round 1 at Misano when he was fighting with Shane Tremblay. And this is quite an integral part of LeBay's presence on the grid, has been that V12 Vantage. He's the only one daring enough to use it, and seemingly all good things come to an end. And you can see for the V12 Vantage, especially here in Season 4, it's been showing its signs of age, but it's been the prowess of LeBay to keep it in competitive form. Seemingly, it is perhaps a road not worth traveling on heading into Season 5, especially with competition continuing to mount. If he knows he can get up to a second more out of the Jaguar, it seemed like a pretty easy decision. We see here for William Bajor, we catch on with our drivers of the podium as we find ourselves with a pressing question. 1.4 seconds, the current divider between Todd and Bajor. 2 minutes left to go. Functionally one more lap from the race leader up in front. 19, nearly 20 seconds up the road there, that being Melvin Milliston. Could there still be a fight for the podium here? For William Bajor, he's staring down the sights of his best result in the Sunday League after 3 races to put himself second place. It is a phenomenal talent on display here from Bajor. Already finds himself up the road from his contemporaries and the rookies in the overall championship. A rather confusing scoring structure, as when you then look into the division rankings, he's still behind Sam Angel. But for how much longer? Not long by the looks of it. Looking at where we stand then for our nearest fights on track, looking around the field, we do find ourselves here. Milbank v Taylor is still one of the closest among them. The Twin Beamers looking to go head-to-head here. 5-star versus the 387.
Right, man. Leader is on the final lap. Give it all you can.
As you've heard there, leader on the final lap, Melvin Milliston, starts the final run of things here in round 5 of the championship here in season 4 of the NLRL Sunday League. Not far from the checkered flag, still a few stories left to wrap up. Among them on your screens at the moment, the fight for 13th place, that of Scott Milbank and Willow Taylor. For Scott, this may not be the greatest of results for him right now, but getting up to 13th will at least make some justice of it. He still finds himself in the top 10 in the overall standings, but if the performance is going to continue to decline like this, admittedly there were some incidents much earlier on in this race. You can see the scarring of it on that 44. He is going to start dropping back. He's been given a little bit of a Deus Ex there by Tyler Vermack dropping to 10th. Number 40 has a drive-through penalty. That's for Ben Hart of Nexus GT. We'll have to catch up with that in a moment's time. We have seen recent developments here for Tyler Vermack. He was in the fight for the 4th place spot. He now finds himself down in 7th, and as you can see on this final lap here, with damage on the nose of his number 25 Porsche. Maybe not the greatest start, but what he can still run away from here is a potential top 10 on his first drive for Porsche. He's learned quite a few lessons today, this being the most recent among them, and he is really in a rock and a hard place. It was the same story found for that of Alan Alexander when he's flanked on both sides by 2 Lexuses. Zolt Beefgarner in front of him, Sam Angel behind him. Not far from the line, though, we'll be catching on with the race leader, Melvin Milliston, but you can see things have massively kicked off for Tyler Vermack's efforts to stay in the top 10 as Sam Angel is moving on him and moving on him fast as we make our way to turn 10. Not much longer to think about it, though, because we will need to catch on board with the race leader. We see these two side by side and letting him on through. Sam Angel moves up to 7th, so now catching on board with Melvin Milliston. As he makes his way to turn 20, he'll see the checkered flag first among the fray. Makes his way to the line. It's win number 12 and his 4th this season for Melvin Milliston. He wins in Spa. Domination from the number 1. William Bajor makes his way to the line to win in the Rookies division, but on his best result of the Sunday League after only 3 races competed, it's 2nd place for VEC Esports' Triple 3. William Bajor to the line, 2nd place. George Todd on his first drive for 5-star Esports, 3rd place. James Mason on a great recovery drive makes 4th place ahead of Stefan Nikolai for a 5-star Esports 3, 4 and 5. To the line then comes Mason. After all things said and done, still in the top 5 and a result to remember despite how things panned out. Nikolai to the line then on the podium for the rookies and 5th overall. Then heading to the line from behind him, Zolt Beefgartner makes the most of his opportunities here. First among the fray for the Lexus cars, and after a long time away from competition in the rookies, makes the podium in the 599 Lexus. Behind him, Sam Angel. Alan Alexander to the line overtakes Tyler Vermack, who gives way there to Jason Bush. In his return to the field, Bush in 9th. Vermack with a stop-go 30, though, at the end of this race. LeBay then stands subject to move to 10th place. We'll see the full results as they roll in, but your 2 winners there are on the front row. Melvin Milliston wins outright, and winning in the rookies, William Bajor of VEC Esports. So we'll get that full result in a moment's time. The checkered flag continues to fly here, heading to the line. Kyle Jenkins in the 113. Decent hustle to start from the pit lane and make his way to the top 15 on a 30-car grid today. He's done a great job to make 50% of the grid under his belt. To the line comes the 113, the 114, also with a royal job there. Ben Cheeseman to 12th place at the end of this race today. Taylor Wolford to the line, 15th for VEC Esports. Josh Wellbeloved on his way to the line for 16th, and then Ivan Sanchez for 17th, Dan Poulin for 18th. Already having confirmed positions there, Andrew Velkamp 19th and Joaquim Quadro in 20th. Ben Hart is going to face the music here. A drive-through penalty that he wasn't able to serve. So by looks of it, he makes his way to the line. And it's an 80-second penalty. He'll push him down past Thiago Moreira. Actually, no, definitely not past Thiago Moreira. I've just seen there 5 laps down the road. But great hustle for Moreira to keep himself on the track. He didn't throw the towel in. He's adamant to see the checkered flag. And not long from it here. The 99 makes his way out through turn 11. We'll catch up with him in a moment's time for that full result. And there you can see the full result on your screens right now. Melvin Milliston wins in Spa. It's win number 12 and his 4th this season for the number 1, the Super Swede, victorious again. William Bajor takes 2nd place and wins in the Rookies division with George Todd on the podium for his first drive with 5-star. And that makes a 5-star 3, 4 and 5. James Mason 4th and Stefan Nikolai in 5th. Zolt Beefgartner in 6th to round out the Rookies podium and is 6th overall. Ahead of Sam Angel in 7th, Alan Alexander in 8th, Jason Bush in 9th, Tyler Vermack with a stop-go 30 in 10th, and Christian LeBay in 11th. Ben Cheeseman in 12th with Scott Milbank in 13th, Kyle Jenkins in 14th with Taylor Wolford rounding out the top 15. Josh Welbelove in 16th place with Ivan Sanchez 17th, Dan Poulon in 18th with Alex Albert 19th, and Andrew Veldkamp in 20th, Joaquin Quadro in 21st and 22nd for Ben Hart. And as it seems here, Willow Taylor in 23rd, a lap down. Cass Van Veltzen a DNF, and same story, so it seems, for Thiago Moreira, despite still being on the track. We'll see, does he take the checkered flag? We are sure hoping for such. And looking further behind, more DNFs, JM Quito, Sergio Belda, Anthony Corti, Ranko Lagovic, and Nye Roberts on this grid. It was a brutal one here in Spa. Seeing the checkered flag, though, comes the 99 of Thiago Moreira, but seemingly doesn't award it to him. So a bit of a bizarre one there right at the end of round 5. The bottom line, though, your winners, Milliston and Bajor in the Pro and Rookie category. And your overall podium is Milliston, Bajor, and Todd. A great race today, then. A very controversial one at the season midway, taking a look at the road ahead for the second half of Season 4, the NLRL Sunday League, powered by Malwar Transport. We'll be seeing quite the myriad coming up the next round on the 30th of November before we head into the final months of 2025. We'll be heading to the Nürburgring GT circuit for a double sprint event at round 6. That comes up next Sunday. Then Alton Park for a medium-length race, so back onto the same format we see today. 60 minutes in Alton Park for round 7. An endurance race, 90 minutes at Kyle Army, 2 30-minute races for Laguna Seca for round 9 of the championship, and then to round things out where we left it off in season 3 at round 10, we return to Silverstone, but this time, instead of a double sprint, we're at a medium. Another 60-minute race, then that'll bring us to the end of operations in the opening months of 2026, right on the trails for Season 5 to pick up in the months following. That's all from us here on TRTN. A wonderful race today, and we hope you all enjoyed from at home. We hope you all enjoyed on track as well if you've been tuning in from at Spa. And you can see they've really dodged the bullet as the session restarts. The weather finally arrived. Better late than never, I suppose. That's all from us here on TRTN. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Take care and good night.